Welcome to Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Being a fireman, father, veteran, husband, world record holder, and Ironman, he brings stories of experience to impact your life while challenging you to live it. What do you want from your life? Why do you want it? Are you willing to go through the challenges to get there? If you have the courage to take that first step, let this podcast be the catalyst to start your fire, while you bring the resilience to make it continue to burn. Our lives are made up of moments called right nows. So let's get started. Forged in the Fires podcast with your host, Fireman Rob, begins now.
All right, welcome back to Forged in the Fires with your host, Fireman Rob. If you haven't subscribed yet, it is your time to subscribe to this podcast, Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. You can find it on all the platforms. If you want to go to the social media channels, you can go to Fireman Rob Strong. That's going to be the one on Instagram. You can go to Team Fireman Rob. That's the one on Twitter. Otherwise, you can go to www.firemanrob.com to find out more about podcasts, blogs, everything like that. Without further ado, I want to get to our guest because it could take me half the time to tell you how credible this individual is in helping you to live a meaningful life. I have a guest today, Dr. Raquel Garzon. She is the epitome of what you want to look at when you're talking about living a vibrant and meaningful life. Now, she's presented to top Fortune 100 companies, talked to 12 of the CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies. She has a degree. She's a doctor of health science degree. She has a bachelor's of nutrition, a master's of nutrition, registered dietitian. Yeah, I'm going to actually just have to get in this interview before we have to stop it. So, Raquel, it's so great to have you on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
It's your wealth of knowledge. And I love that because in the field that you're in that wellness field and talking about nutrition and wellness is so important to look at somebody and go, they have a diverse knowledge of this, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have lots of different viewpoints and backgrounds and experiences. And I think if you put, even very educated people in the same room to talk nutrition, they wouldn't agree with each other. And so it so does true. Make it really challenging for sure.
That's so true because it is one of those things where chocolate's good for you one week and the next week it's it's bad for you, and running is bad for you, and then now it's good for you. But you started this project, and I think this is probably one of the best stories that I love it. And I actually originally knew about you and met you at the Human Performance Institute, where you worked for 13 years. Can you tell me a little bit more about your work there?
Sure. I started there when the company was fairly new and small in 2001. And primarily we were doing training with athletes and also hostage rescue workers and surgical teams. And we had just gone into the world of business, basically helping people to perform at their best using nutrition and exercise and sports psychology types of concepts. And I was hired originally to work on the nutrition part of the program and was with the company for a really long time and became a partner. And so really just grew and developed in the company to really just take on more of the overall content. We were doing programs, first locally, then globally. And so that trajectory, I was part of that growth and expansion, which was really, really exciting. So it got me a lot of new experiences that I had not planned on in my career. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. And now you didn't take the conventional path of all of your things because you left, a corporate job and then started your own company and really going back to school at age of 40, which is not easy at all. I mean, it's not even easy to go to school at, 21. Yeah. But you kind of went on your own. What gave you that courage to be able to do that?
Well, I think I've always been a little bit unconventional. So most dietitians who are registered dietitians, they work in that field. And I got out of that clinical field and moved into very quickly. I worked for 3 years as a, what you would call a typical dietitian. And then I worked for a startup company that was doing digital nutrition education online in the year 2000. So this was like not, it was just getting started. It was the .com.bomb year. And so that was my very first move to something I had no experience in. The internet was super new and in providing programming. And I really found that I loved it, even though the company went under. I really liked the thrill of the startup and how fast it moved and just being basically playing in a different sandbox than everybody else, which is then what took me to the Human Performance Institute. And I originally got actually turned down for the job with a form letter. So that's just another example of how my life goes, is that they turned me down. They just sent me a form letter and said, thank you, no, thank you. And I called them up and I just, disagreed with them on the phone. I said, you're making a mistake, obviously. And they said, well, we're not going to consider you for the job. So I don't know why you're calling us. And I said, well, I'm really curious about you. I want to go down there and visit. And so they said, fine, but this isn't an interview. I said, fine. So I went down there for a visit. I met with the COO. We ended up talking for several hours. And at the end, he said, you know what? We'll give you a chance. We'll let you interview. You have to create a presentation, blah, blah, blah. And I went in and presented. And within a couple of days, they called me and said that I had blown everybody else away and they offered me the job. And then after that, I became partner. So I used to always joke with them that they didn't know what they were doing because they had turned me down originally for a job and then I became a partner in the company. So
that's impressive. I think you missed your calling, not as a dietitian, but as a saleswoman.
Perhaps because I did work for the Army as well, and in Fort Hood, actually, which has been in the news lately. But when I went to work there, they didn't have a position, and I went in there and I said, well, I do pediatrics and I really love it. And they were like, oh, nobody here likes to do pediatrics. And they actually went and created a position for me because nobody else wanted to do what I did. So that was pretty awesome. And I think that honestly, those experiences, sometimes I go out and I give presentations to college students about basically my life lessons that I've learned, which makes me feel old when they ask me to do that. But
it's terrible.
But I think that those experiences really helped form me in a different way where I really don't always take no for an answer from that perspective, especially if I really feel like in my gut, like I knew with the Human Performance Institute, I'm like, I know I can do this. I know that I'm going to be able to help them and I'm going to be valuable. And so when I feel that, then I'm just more likely to be persistent. And when it came to leaving corporate America to start my own company, there was a million signs pointing me away from that. First that I was the breadwinner. My husband stayed home from work to take care of the kids because that made sense for us. And I made a really good salary. The company was purchased by J&J. I was a banded, executive in Johnson & Johnson, which is a great thing to be. And everything, my dad was like, you're crazy. That's a great job. Why would you leave it? The security of it. And it's not that I didn't want to do the job that I was doing and I didn't appreciate it because Johnson & Johnson, I still work with them and they're one of my best clients, but I felt this pull that I knew I could do something on my own and it would allow me to do some things that I wasn't being able to do in the position that I was in at the time. And so I risked everything. I risked, having security and a 401k and all of the things that I had to start my company. I sold stock to get it started so that I wouldn't have to take out loans. And within 6 months, I was already profitable. So I felt like, yes, that was the right thing to do.
Well, and that it speaks volumes to the aspect of resiliency and of following your purpose. And I talk about that a lot, but pretty much I should have you do the show for me. Because you look at, it's amazing because what you were talking about, and you kind of glossed over that, when you were at the U.S. Army, you actually were awarded the Commander's Award for Civil Service, which is no small feat. But you took a lot of different things and said, well, just because it's not there doesn't mean I can't do it. I think a lot of people would love that in their lives. That is something that is so hard for people to actually grasp because they look at social media or they look at what jobs are out there, and they say, well, I don't fit into any of those categories. What would you say? What would you say is like one of the things that drives you to be able to do that? To be able to say, I see that it's not there, but I'm going to make it there.
I don't know. It's just the way I look at things. I do see things from a different perspective, which I think, sometimes it gets you beat up a little bit. So I can tell you, when getting that Civil Service Medal Award through the Army was not easy. And it wasn't something I had my eyes set on. I just look at things and I say, why are we doing things this way? It doesn't make sense. And so I'm a person that's just like, I want to make things better and I want things to make sense. And, for a military, there's a lot of red tape, and I made a lot of enemies, and people really despised me that first year that I was there because of some of the things that I was doing. I mean, it's been 20 years since I worked there, and people that are still left there say that they still talk about some of the things I did. I was disruptive, and I call it constructively disruptive. I mean, sometimes I might be destructively disruptive because I think that's just a side effect sometimes when you are disruptive, but most of the time it's constructive. You have to sometimes tear things down to build them back up again in a better way. And I just have a different viewpoint, and it does veer from what a lot of other people see or believe and think. But I also have that, I don't know, drive within me to follow through with those things, even if it means that people dislike me. I mean, it was really bad. I had people like just completely ignore me, not talk to me, talk about me behind my back. But once those things went through, everybody was like, oh, wow, this saves us money. This actually makes more sense. This actually helps solve a bunch of different problems. And they just, people don't like change, and they're resistant to it, and they don't like people that disrupt things naturally. Yep. So if you have a gut instinct, if you have a reason to believe that something could be different, should be different, I think that you have to just be prepared to not please everybody and not necessarily be liked by everybody. And I think there are a lot of quotes and famous people out there that would completely tell you that. And I always think that if everybody likes you, then you're not trying hard enough. You're not really going out there.
That's so true.
Doing those things.
That's so true, because actually you're going with the people. You're going with what they're comfortable with.
That's totally how I see it. And I used to actually say, and this probably could get me in trouble, but there were certain people that I would say, if that person likes me, I'm doing something wrong. Like, you have to identify those people that if they like you, you know that you are swimming in the wrong lane. You are sucking up. You're going with the status quo. You're not disrupting. There was just certain people that I was like, good, I hope they dislike me, because that means I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And you just have to be prepared for that.
I love it. It's confidence. It's confidence in who you are, what your journey is. And you have a book out there, The Business of You, Leveraging Business Principles to Thrive in Life. Now, tell me a little bit more about the context of that.
Yeah. So, I don't know why I decided to write a book. It's kind of like, why did I decide to go back for my doctorate? I have still no idea, even though I finished it.
Well, you get called doctor.
I guess. But this book, I think it just came to me because I do so many presentations for corporations and employees of organizations. And a lot of times I'm talking to them about things that I think, wow, you should already really be good at this because you're doing it every day, whether it's nutrition or exercise or managing stress or becoming more resilient. I would be presenting and they would come to me with like, oh, that's just so hard and I can't do that. And oh, but woe is me and the what ifs. And I would just pause and say, wait a second. You guys already are doing this. You wake up every single day and you go slaughter at work by doing the same exact things that I'm talking to you about, by understanding supply and demand, by understanding how important it is to be proactive versus reactive, by understanding that you have to try new things, make mistakes, learn from them, and grow and use that you have to have a purpose and mission in mind as you do things. So right. As I started to give them examples, like, oh, you work on the supply chain, so let's talk about this and use your supply chain as an example, or whatever it might be. I found myself constantly just referring back to what they were already doing and saying, okay, now just do the same thing with this. Don't stop complicating it. So that's where the idea came from, is there are so many business principles that are out there that people are using that totally make sense to them. And I'm like, just take that and apply it to yourself to fix your relationships, your finances, your wellness, whatever it is that you need to fix. You can actually use what you already know, but people compartmentalize, you know? It's like, this is my business world and this is the rest of my life. And I don't know why we can't just integrate those two together and really leverage the best of both worlds to be more holistic, kind of thriving people.
It's such a great concept, because if you think about it, and you think about it in the nutrition aspect, and you think about it in the fitness aspect, if you do something many, many times over and you consistently do it the same way, you get better at it. It's crazy thought.
Yeah.
And so if you have great principles in business, people
are looking for like shortcuts, right? Like for wellness, they're like, okay, how do I get ripped without doing any exercise, right? Like, well, just paint it on then. I don't know what to tell you. Paint a six pack on your abs. But it's like, they're looking for shortcuts. They're looking for instant gratification. And I'm like, is that what you do at work? Do you look for shortcuts? Do you just like bribe somebody to get what you need done? Do you look for instant gratification? And they look at me and they're like, of course not. And I'm like, then why would you do that for your own life? A job for most people is temporary, right? But they're willing to do more and do the right things for their job than they are for themselves and the only body that they're going to live in, and how they role model and teach things in their families. And I'm like, it's like so much cognitive dissonance that I just can't, it's so hard. And so then I'm like, okay, let's take a step back and see how we can apply all of the wonderful things you're doing in this area of your life to the other area of your life, and vice versa. You might be doing great things in your personal life, and why not leverage that and bring that into the business world? There really is no separation. And I think the pandemic has shown us this. There is no separation between our work lives and our personal lives.
You are so right.
And so you might as well make the best of all of those worlds together.
Embrace that curve. I think that's, it's one of those things. It's now, where can people go to buy this book? Because pretty much, I think you just sold it.
I don't know about that. It's on Amazon.
Okay. So go to Amazon, find that book. Definitely. It's one of those, like, exactly how you explained it is exactly what people need to do. We have a lot of successful business people in this world who don't understand that they need to translate that into their lives, because life is not one thing. It's a culmination of a lot of things. And that is something that transitions me to your next thing. I love Normal 2.0 online training. Where did you figure that one out? I love the name of
So what happened was we go into this pandemic, our worlds shift. I have this awesome person that's in my network, Michelle Sterling. She and I worked on a project together at the Human Performance Institute with Johnson & Johnson. And, I stay in contact with people, and we just start talking. We start setting up these meetings and just throwing around ideas. And she has an amazing background. I have the stuff that I do in resilience and change. And I'm like, I teach all of these things on the neuroscience of change and what to do in uncertainty. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is what we're living right now. So we decided to collaborate, take all of her expertise, all of my expertise, and create this online training. And then everyone was talking about this, when are things going to get back to normal? When are things going to get back to normal? And I'm like, why would people want it to go back to the way that it was before? That's Why would we want that? We should never want that, really. What we should want is to take what was good before and retain that. Take everything that we learned through chaos and uncertainty and use that to upgrade and make things even better than ever before. So that's where we just thought Normal 2.0. Yes, that's what we want. We don't want normal. We want a Normal 2.0 that's completely upgraded, where we get to keep what we love and we get to enhance that with all of the learnings and growth that we've had through this process. So that one is for it's for employees of organizations. We've designed it so that it's fully online. It's just turnkey. An organization can just buy it and people just go in. It's extremely inexpensive, like per user. And basically it helps them walk through the process of really looking back, right, to see what is it about normal that I liked before in my life? How do I retain that? But then also reflecting about what's going on right now and what am I learning and how can I grow? And then how how can I make myself even more resilient and ready for change, and maybe embracing some of these things that we tend to push back against, like, I don't want change. I don't want uncertainty. I don't want ambiguity. Well, you can change your mindset to actually thrive in those things. And because they're going to keep happening, you might as well, instead, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So we provide all of these great tools for employees. And that way, leaders can just focus on, okay, they probably need to focus on the operations, supply chain, what's going on there. They don't have time to start a whole program from scratch to help their employees get through this time. So that's what we did.
That's amazing. So now I want to give everybody an idea that, we heard the story of you kind of transitioning your whole life from that corporate job that was secure, that you had that feeling of comfort. And then you took on this thing, and it's called the Revitalize program or project. I'm sorry, Revitalize Project. You can go to revitalizeproject.com and find out a lot more. But when I look at this website, and it's so robust. There's so many things that you're offering to individuals, like I said before, to empower these people to live a vibrant and meaningful life. On the front page, you have this great image. It's the model of a wellness tree. Now, tell me more about this, because I want people to go on to revitalizeproject.com and look at this, because it really does lay out perfectly the aspects of wellness and how and put it into that concept of growing.
Yeah. So this was a kind of how do I think about this? I think about wellness being multidimensional. We tend to think about it as being very physically oriented. And I really wanted to go beyond that. I really believe that everything is integrated. And so I started to think about, okay, what are all of these categories that I talk about? So I talk about things that are physical, but the environment affects us very much. In a lot of the stuff that I do around neuroscience of wellness or neuroscience of change, it's so incredible how much the things that are going on around us affect our behaviors. And so that part is important to address. The social and emotional factors are huge. The mind, it's like the control center. That's why I'm so fascinated by neuroscience. We have to understand how that integrates in. And then just, our financial state, our career, and how we look at it. All of those things are part of wellness. And so I wanted that to be captured. And then, and then like the root of everything. So I started to think about, okay, what's the root of everything? And I very much, subscribe to the self-determination theory, sort of giving people the ability to autonomously choose their path instead of telling them what to do. And so I started to think about autonomy. That should be a part of anything that's out there. You want to empower people to make their own choices instead of saying, you should do this, you should do that. And believe me, that's how I was taught in school. Eat this, don't eat that. You shouldn't be doing that. I hate that. So autonomy. And then purpose. Why are you doing it? So if you don't have a purpose, why are you going to torture yourself with making a change, right? Or doing something differently. So everything has to be tied to that. And then the concept of mastery, which is practicing and getting better at something and recognizing that you're making progress. And that helps to create intrinsic motivation, which I think is huge. This whole society is based on rewarding with these outside rewards. It's you do this and we'll give you this. I hate it. So like in my presentations, I talk about making shifts to intrinsic motivation, and mastery is huge. People want to get better. People want to learn. And so I think we should promote that. And so then as I was thinking about the model, I thought a lot of times I would use this example about a tree. Like when I would be teaching things, I would say, it's not about what the tree looks like above the ground. It's what's going on underneath the ground that also matters. So I used to live in Florida. When a hurricane comes, you can't tell which trees are going to make it or not make it based on their branches or their leaves or how majestic or pretty they are. It's that root system. It's what they've prepared for, and I look at humans the same way. You've got to get those roots down and those roots right. And then you've got to work on that outside and the branches and how you want those to look. And do you want them to be crazy or do you want them to be nice and trimmed? And that's sort of like your personal style. But we tend to focus more on that outside stuff and what people see in our appearances than always like working on that inside part and those roots, that when emergencies come our way, when things don't go as planned, it's the roots that really determine how you're going to respond, not how much your six packs, how big your six packs or biceps or quadriceps. Like that's not going to do it, right?
Nope. That will not hold you down in a hurricane.
Yeah. So I thought I'm going to build this model using this tree that I like to talk about, because I feel like there's just so much that you can, I don't know, relate to the tree. Plus I just love nature. So I thought the tree was just a good way to communicate it.
Oh, I loved when you started talking about under the ground. I mean, because that I was looking at that and I was like, I wanted to ask you why you put that stuff under, because the way I looked at it too is, I mean, it's amazing because you look at autonomy, purpose, and mastery. All those happen for most people when others aren't looking. All those things happen, you know, in the middle of the night when they're running on the treadmill, and you know, when they're going to classes when they're 40 years old to get their doctorate. All these things happen and people don't see, even though they have a beautiful tree, they don't see all that work that went into it. And I think that illustration is so powerful. It is so powerful. I love that. So you bet anybody who's listening, you need to go to revitalizeproject.com. At least look at the tree, but then there's so much more to look at the website than just the tree.
Well, and the tree was created by this guy. You know, I hire a lot of small businesses. I hire a lot of businesses to work on my stuff. They're like 1 person, 2 people. I try to hire a lot of women, minority owned businesses. And so that is a 1 person show, Hispanic man that lives in my local area here in New Mexico, which is the 49th poorest state. So that's like another part that's important to me that I don't know if it comes through on my website or not, because I make my own website, so it's probably not that great. But I do a lot in the community. And that was one of the reasons that I left corporate America, was because I really wanted to do more things in the community and take the stuff that I was doing with employees and offer it to people who don't normally have the chance to get this sort of information. And so I have won several grants. I've been able to reach people in my community here in New Mexico with resiliency programs. I had one called Resilient Mothers, Resilient Children that won a grant. And we were able to do this programming with some of our Native American, one of our reservations here, and then also in the border communities where you have a lot of Spanish speaking moms facing a lot of really difficult situations. And I'm a finalist right now in the SIGGI's grant program. Voting ends on October 3rd. And that grant that I'm a finalist for is on the gut microbiome. And it's a program that I would also do here in my local community at the Native American reservation and some of the border communities in English and Spanish on how to prepare food and eat in a way that supports a healthy gut microbiome, which a bad gut promotes diabetes and obesity and all kinds of different conditions. And first of all, that there's not a lot of programming on the gut microbiome in general, but certainly not to these communities who suffer from huge rates of diabetes and obesity, far reaching, as compared to, non-minority, whites. And so those are just some of the things I try to hire accordingly. I'm a small business that's women owned. I'm Hispanic, and I just try to promote that because it's an uphill battle. I can just tell you that. Both my parents are immigrants, first generation here. I don't have the buildup of wealth or connections that other people had. And it really is so hard to make it in the big leagues and compete against all of these other big companies. So it was just something I wanted to mention because that is just one of the reasons I started this company.
But it's not shocking that is part of you as a person, is that you are an individual who does not take the straight path. And I love that. And you help others to realize that potential that they have. I think, all these things that you're doing are so impactful by themselves. But as when you put them together, you are a great role model for those individuals who, like you said, that, immigrants or people who don't have the wealth or people who don't have the networks to be able to get there, that it is possible. It is possible. I love that the leadership role that you're taking in that respect. What does it feel? How do you feel like that impacts your life to look at yourself? And I'm pretty sure that you probably don't look at yourself as that, but but how does it feel to be that role model of possible?
I guess I don't necessarily always think about it that way.
That. I knew that was going to be the answer.
And I try to just I try to live life to the maximum. I don't just do that with my career. I do that, personally, whether it's taking on new sports. This week, I took on clipless pedals on my mountain bike, and I'm bruised all over from falling over with both my feet still attached to the pedals. Everyone's telling me not to do it, which just makes me do it more. So I think I'm just that type of person. I feel like, you've got this one life. You never know how long or how short it's going to be. You want to take advantage of it. And I don't subscribe to the philosophy of live your life like it's the last day, because I think that can give you an excuse to be reckless and careless. I always say live your life as if it were the last, but probably isn't the last, and that you might be here for a really long time. So I know it's like a weird thing to think about, but it's like, how can I take advantage and appreciate and do as much as I can today, knowing that today is an investment in tomorrow, right? So
I like that.
I'm putting these days together. And if I do happen to live a while, it's going to take me somewhere. And I want to make sure that it's a place that I'm happy about and satisfied with, and that I've created something meaningful and impactful, and that I've shown my kids different possibilities. I used to be real, I guess, left-brained about it. I would say, I don't want my kids to major in some stupid major that doesn't have a job, some liberal arts crap. I'm not paying for that, right? So I used to say all of these things, before you have kids. And then, my daughter's autistic, my son has all of these medical issues. And what happens is you just take a step back and say, okay, what really matters here? What really matters is that they have autonomy, that they have mastery, and that they have purpose, and that they feel passionate about what they're doing, and that somehow it provides some kind of service or value, whether that's entertainment. My daughter loves to draw. She loves theater. It's all the things that I would have completely said were useless and that nobody should major in long ago. But you know what? Seriously.
Life changes.
And she feels fulfilled. Then she's going to do that. And then she's going to figure out how to make ends meet. So if she's an actress who also bartends or waitresses to make ends meet, but she's happy doing that, I'm going to be supportive of that. So I've really kind of done a 180 on those sorts of things. My son he's very creative. He's going to either be a lawyer or an entrepreneur or a criminal. I'm not really sure which one yet.
It's a wide range.
But his personality is, I don't want to put my kids in a box. I don't want to force them, to do these certain things, because then I would really be going against everything that I teach and everything that I believe in now. And I think that's the other thing, to acknowledge that just because you believed something before doesn't mean that you can't say, you know what, maybe I've grown and I'm mistaken, and I can change my viewpoint on that, because you go through experiences, you learn more about life. But some people just cling to those things and say, no, this is the belief. You can't major in liberal arts, and they can't let that go. I'm willing to say, that was ridiculous, Raquel, that was just, what were you thinking? No, you need to change your viewpoint on that. That's just not right.
Yeah. Well, it's that identification that we are constantly growing. We're constantly learning. I always talk about purpose. And, if I had the same purpose I had when I was 10 years old, I would be a professional Lego maker. We have to change with the times. We have to change. Everything changes. But I love how you put it in that it's all perspective.
But you could be a professional Lego maker, because that does exist, and I'm sure those people are really happy.
I can't. I wasn't good at it to begin with.
I went to Legoland. I was really impressed with the stuff that they can do.
Impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the patience.
I thought you were going to say if I were 10 and still wanted to have the same goals, I'd be a fireman. I'm like, there you are. See?
No, I wanted to be a doctor. See, I wanted to be a doctor. I went somewhere. I went to some different path.
See, you could still do that, though.
I could, but I don't want to.
And I was a volunteer firefighter in college, and I really loved it. And because of that, when my brother went to college, he ended up following in my footsteps and volunteering. And then he actually became a firefighter, and he's a firefighter to this day. So, and he always says, if I hadn't done what you were doing and volunteering at the fire station, I would have never become a fireman. So
that's great. Look at all these paths you were changing. And then now you have a business that you're changing path. I mean, we'll call you the path changer. I love it.
No.
I love it. Yeah. Or I should say path creator, because, you're creating that opportunity for that person's mind to be able to see that the path in front of them that's been beaten by 50,000 other people's feet is not maybe their path. They want to take the one that has the scrub brush and just keep going. I love it.
Yes, agree with that.
Yeah, and you live that. So I mean, I love your story. I love everything about it, and we're definitely going to have you back on here because I could talk to you for hours. I want people to go to revitalizeproject.com. Also, make sure you go on Amazon, and there's a great book there, The Business of You, Leveraging Business Principles to Thrive in Your Life. You already do those principles, so why not understand how you can put them into your life? Raquel, thank you so much for being on. I always end the same way. I have 3 questions for you, and then we have a rapid round. So I hope you're ready. I didn't give them to you in advance.
Okay, I'm ready.
I have to make you nervous. That's the key. All right, Here it is. What is one thing you haven't done, but is outside of your comfort zone?
It's outside of my...
Yeah, that's a hard one for you.
It is. It truly is, because I always think of everything as doable, or, the one
Swimming
thing
with great white sharks.
Maybe, because the one thing that I was so terrified to do, which might surprise you, was I always wanted to audition for a play to be on stage. And it would just the thought of auditioning, like I can be myself, but the thought of auditioning where you have to be somebody else was so frightening to me that I would literally get dizzy thinking about it and almost pass out. And last year I auditioned for a play, which I almost passed out on stage. I was shaking so bad. They actually had to detain my hands. And I didn't get the part. But then a few months later, a director came my way and asked me to do a play. And I did. And this character, Rhonda, had a New York, New Jersey accent. So here I am, my first play. I have to do this New York, New Jersey accent. And it was like the most fun thing that I ever did. And that was like one of the things that scared me the most, believe it or not. And I did it.
Are you kidding?
For real. It'll be a year, July 12th, coming up in 2 days, that play opened. And yeah, I did it for 2 weekends, and it was a phenomenal experience. One of the best experiences I've had. I actually had to cancel bookings. I had to cancel revenue to make this play happen. And my clients were really kind about it. I said, listen, it's on my bucket list. I've been wanting to do it forever. Please, let's reschedule whatever we need to. And they said yes. And I lost a bunch of revenue that month. But literally, I would not take it back for anything. I learned so much about the theater world and working with a cast and what it takes to take on another character and think like them. It was just the most incredible experience ever. And it was just, yeah. So I don't know. You'd have to put me in the water with great sharks or something really bizarre like that, because everything that's out there that scares me, I was scared of skydiving. So I went and did it. I'm like, if I'm scared of it, I'm going to go do it. And that's just my rule.
Like it. Well, don't go swim with great white sharks. It's not a good idea. And if you do, I did not tell you to.
Okay, fair deal.
I can't get blamed for this. I can't get blamed. All right, here's the
these questions you ask me.
I know, I like it. So here, I actually have to ask you one more on that one. Was it the audition, or was it the actual play itself that was more scary to you?
I think it was both. I think the audition was an extremely vulnerable situation. I don't know why. Like, my kids both do theater, and every time I watch them audition, because sometimes they're closed auditions and I can't watch, but when they do open, I am literally almost fainting for them. I feel like puking. I start sweating. It's horrifying. I have so much empathy that I put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, literally, I lose all blood from my head. And I think it's that vulnerability of, going up there and trying to be somebody else. I only know how to be myself, and I think that you have to be so vulnerable to just try to be another person with another viewpoint, accent, and then to try to act it out where you're just thinking to yourself, I know I look ridiculous, or I sound ridiculous, or this person thinks I am like horrible, it's that judgmental, I don't know.
We're a worst critic, right?
I present in front of tens of thousands of people on stages, and but I'm myself. And so that was part of it. The audition was horrifying. And then when I took on this character, just rehearsing was horrifying. Like having somebody watch me and then be like, no, now try it this way or do this differently. I mean, it's like it's you have to be really thick-skinned in a sense because they're sort of criticizing the way that you've interpreted it or acted it out. Like they're trying to improve you so that it lands well, but it feels like criticism. Like imagine you working on your computer and someone sitting there going, I wouldn't have done that. No, why don't you just click on that letter? Why did you know? This is how I want you to do it instead. Like how annoying would that be, right? So
yeah, by far.
Theater is. I mean, it's your intonation, it's your body movement, it's your look, it's everything is being constantly corrected and done differently. And I think it's really hard. It really is so different than anything else I've ever done in my life. And so I think it was really good for me. Yeah.
I love that.
You got to go do it sometime.
I was going to say, most people probably would not have thought about that. That would have scared you when I gave the presented to 35 of the top Fortune 100 companies. They're like, she's scared of auditioning?
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, I love it. All right, here's number 2. What is your favorite quote and why?
Oh, I think I have one in my signature. I am horrible at memorizing things. So, seriously. Well, first of all, I don't know if you went to my social media, but I put out quotes all the time. I'm quote obsessed, and I put them in presentations. And I'm sure that people find that completely annoying. But I don't know. I have one in my signature that I really like. Should I look it up?
No. You know what? What's your social media? We're gonna do it this way.
So
your Instagram is
Project. Yeah, it's Revitalize Project for Instagram, for Facebook, and for Twitter, and for YouTube. So I try to be consistent.
So I will take that as your answer for question number 2. Go to those social media.
I have so many, and it depends on my mood and all kinds of things. So
I love it. That's a perfect answer for number 2. I like it. Thanks. All right. So number 3, this is, I can't wait for this answer because I have a feeling it's going to be interesting. And we get answers all over the board. It's amazing. Okay. So if you could pick to have coffee with 3 other people at a firehouse table, so that means nothing is off. You can ask them anything. Who would it be and why?
Do they have to be alive?
No, they can be alive or dead. Either way.
Oh, man.
But they'll be alive when you're talking to them.
Okay. I think this is really, really tough. And I would probably have different answers on different days. So I think that one person I would pick is my grandfather on my mom's side, who I never had a chance to meet. He was assassinated in Cuba when the Castro government took over. He was in the military. He was a major in the army. And of course, he was for the previous army. So when the takeover happened with Fidel Castro, he was on the wrong side because he was of the previous army. And some of the people decided to, switch and become part of the Communist Party, and he did not. And he knew that they were going to kill him, and they came to the house and they shot him in the head in his own house. While my mom and her brother and sister were all at school, and my grandmother was there, and she was left to pick up the pieces and figure things out. And my mom was 6 at the time, so she basically grew up, without a father. And I think I would just love to understand his story and just everything that he went through, which is, I think, such a tough thing. It's like, do you switch in order to save your life, or do you stick with your values and your morals, principles, knowing that you're going to die and leave your 3 kids behind, and that's what he chose. And so for me, that would be a really interesting conversation to have. So, and I've never been able to say
you have some of the traits that he had.
My grandmother was a survivor, and my grandmother was an amazingly strong person who I think passed a lot of these traits on to the rest of the family. So, and she was a person I greatly admired. Yeah. She suffered a lot in her life, but you would have never known it because of the type of person she was and her sense of humor. So, she never remarried, and she wore that wedding ring to the day that she died. So
Wow.
yeah. So anyway,
That's a good first choice.
He would be
Holy
my first
cow.
choice right there. Yeah.
This is why I said this would be a good one for you.
Oh gosh.
Who is number two?
Who else do I choose? I don't know. There's so many historical figures that I would like to talk with. And I think that you would probably see a theme. I think I would, someone like Gandhi, just somebody that also, I think, that persistence and the resiliency and the sacrifice and the putting other people's needs above their own, and Mandela, somebody like that. I don't know, somewhere, some person like that, I think would definitely be another person. You can see kind of my theme.
I like it.
And then I don't know, like I'd want to pick somebody. Maybe be a little bit self-indulgent. I'm a huge Broadway fan. And so I don't know, maybe I would pick, I don't know, somebody from like a historical Broadway musical. Like I love Hamilton. I'm completely obsessed with it. I saw it on stage and I've seen it like 3 times since it came out on Disney Plus, but I'm also obsessed with the Broadway musical Anastasia. And I think that I would, I don't know, maybe indulge to have a whole conversation with Anastasia Romanoff and kind of get like that whole spiel, because I'm totally obsessed with that musical and the mythology there and everything that happened. I don't know. I'm weird like that. But I also like the musical Six and Ken Henry and his 6 wives, and maybe an interview with him and just really get kind of his, get in his head about his wives. I don't know. It's so hard to pick for Broadway shows. And yeah, I don't know. See, you're not going to get a straight answer from me because that's just not my personality.
I gathered that your grandfather's sitting at the table going, who else is coming?
I don't know. A real strange cast of characters, perhaps, depending on the day.
That is what I love about that question, because we've had all over the board, and I think it shows personality of how people pick, and when they're like, oh, I can't figure out who, and I want this person, and it shows a lot of different personalities. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you've officially made it to the rapid round.
Oh my gosh. There's more. I can't believe this. I feel like I'm in one of these interviews.
I know. Well, this is one of those where it's like when I was reading off all of your credentials. This is what it feels like.
I doubt it.
There's so much. I'm just kidding.
Doubt it.
All right. Here it is. Rapid round. I'm going to give you 2 things. All you got to say is which one you'd pick.
Okay.
All right. You ready? All right.
Okay.
Paper or plastic?
Paper.
Soup or salad?
Soup.
McDonald's or Taco Bell to the registered dietitian?
Gosh. McDonald's.
Yeah, there you go. Camping or hotel?
Oh, camping.
Fly or drive?
Drive.
How about sleep in late or wake up early?
Wake up early.
Run or walk?
Run.
Partly sunny or partly cloudy?
Partly sunny.
There you go. Fire or water?
Fire.
There you go. All right, this is a critical one. Use a porta potty or continue to ride or drive to the next physical bathroom?
I can't just go in the ground, dig a hole or something like that?
You're that other category beyond porta potty.
Oh yeah. Listen, I hike, I mountain bike, I can go anywhere. So I don't really need to hold it ever. Ever.
I love it. Coke or
you should see some of the places I've gone to the bathroom.
Oh no, this podcast just went off the rails.
I have no shame.
All right, Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
And then the last one is go big or go home?
Go big.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, Raquel, it has been such a pleasure to have you on today. And
it's so nice connecting with you after so much time. Since I don't remember what year that was, maybe 2012?
Yes, it was way back in 2012. So crazy.
Yeah. It's great to be able to connect you again. I was so looking forward to this.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. I want people to go to revitalizeproject.com, find out more, find out how you can actually start to live your most meaningful life. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to talking with you next week.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast, and please share this episode with a friend or family. To find out more about Fireman Rob or reach out about a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.